Buddy, it is the what is it? March 30th, which is day some 300 and some odd of something of the 15 days. But this video is not about that. This is about the ballot access case. The link is in the description. Which the plaintiffs, I'm one of them. We just argued and took testimony over the course of 2 days. It had to be about, let's see, Friday was about 7 hours of evidence and witnesses. I think today we were in there for 2 hours, of course, virtually that is. And this is our ballot access suit that the governor shut us out of court. So it couldn't get heard. So there's a link to the complaint and the description well, actually, the description has the links to everything you need. So basically, in a nutshell, a lot of people are always like, why are we always stuck with Democrats and Republicans? Well, this lawsuit is an example of how and the facts we laid out to support why and how that happened. So, unlike Democrats and Republicans, we have to go out, we have to hawk signatures. If we don't run a candidate, we lose ballot access. They could run nobody and keep it. So there's no time for a hearing. If you get denied in a ballot petition, they don't tell you whether you're on, or actually formally put you on, that is, until the middle of September. So if you don't know and you don't get that official determination, you don't get into debates, you don't get included in polls, it's harder to raise money, and so you basically get a month and a half tops, maybe some change if you want to really campaign and run. So that's kind of the first thing. You're just, they cut us off at the kneecaps. And so we brought a complaint. We said it was 2019. We said enough's enough. This will go on forever. And nobody's actually laid out a ballot access case like this. We had several witnesses, all with petitioning experience. One was our Libertarian Party's 2018 ballot access coordinator. He's petitioned, I think, in 14 different states. We offered 27 exhibits. So there's a lot. If you want to learn how a ballot drive is done and what goes into it, go ahead and read the record. Because the record actually walks you through it. I know the Dems and the Republicans, they, seem to think it's not that much of a big deal. But the reason they think it's not that much of a big deal is because they're not forced to go out and actually do this stuff. So in Connecticut, in order for libertarians to be on par with Democrats and Republicans, it would take 161,000 some odd signatures collected over the course of 3 years for each respective race when it is up, when you can get the petition. So that's kind of a big burden. And Connecticut is unusual because it does ballot access office by office. There's not one petition where you could put everybody on. That would be much easier. So that makes us repeat that process for all the offices. And when we get somebody on, the question we usually get is, who's in the bottom of the ticket? Who's on the down ticket? So that kind of kneecaps you too. So the first count of the complaint, we're saying there's no real due process here. If there's an issue, there's no time to fix it. And that's just the way it shakes. So the second count, we're basically saying the ballot access framework, it's an unconstitutionally undue burden. This is something that the Democrats and Republicans could not do if they had to. They could not start from nothing. Count three, we're basically attacking the petitioning process as compelled speech, which it is. You got to go out. You got to say something about it. And count four is to do the registration forms, which we are not included on. And, we should be. I mean, we qualify to enroll voters. The way we look at it is, why should the Democrats and Republicans be front-loaded? Why, should we not be on these forms? That would help us find our people. So instead, everybody gets listed. You have to literally write it in. There's a line that says other. And so what happens when you add all of these things up, you're stuck with Democrats and Republicans. And of course, the state was apt to point out, well, Connecticut allows for fusion candidacies, and you can go ahead and just endorse an R or a D. But the thing is this, the Libertarian Party doesn't do that. It's against its bylaws. And besides, we would like to have a political existence of our own. Why not? I mean, they get to do that. I mean, so the bottom line here is the system is just inherently unfair. It's designed to exclude choices. It's not designed to provide like a clear ballot. The ballot clutter, quite frankly, I think the lack of a better term is bullshit. But the ballot clutter came up, and hey, the bottom line is you go to the grocery store, you see all sorts of different brands of soda. You're not confused because you have too many options. You want Coke, Pepsi, RC Cola. You want to get seltzer. You know what you're gonna do, and you're gonna walk through the whole aisle to find whatever it is you need to find it. So on the other hand, the state of Connecticut thinks ballots are just so confusing. Like you need to be told what options, you know, we need to reduce your options. Otherwise, you're never going to pick. Well, I mean, if that was the case, nobody would ever leave a voting booth, would they? Um, so the bottom line is, under the guise of helping voters make decisions, they're making decisions about what decisions you get to have. And of course, the General Assembly, Democrats and Republicans wrote, these laws. And of course, they think it's legitimate. And I'm not shocked, but whatever keeps them in power is what keeps them in power. So the bottom line is, we showed up, we fought it. I think we got a shot. And this is something if we have to take it far, we'll take it farther. I mean, we'll appeal if we have to. The bottom line is the ballot access situation is what gives you Democrats and Republicans. And one thing I did point out in closing argument, Democrats and Republicans are not the major parties because of how well they treat people. That should be evident. They're not major parties because their policies work. They're major parties because the law enshrines them in the ballot. I mean, it excludes other options. And it was interesting. You should probably know that, yes, one person actually did register in Connecticut under the so-called swinger party. So whoever you are out there, thanks for making life interesting. You succeeded. Otherwise, the bottom line is, if we don't get an injunction in this case, then we're all stuck. You're stuck. You'll have two terrible choices and nothing else. So we're out there. We did what we could. And just so you know, the plaintiffs are the Libertarian National Committee, the Libertarian Party of Connecticut, Roger and Ellen Misbach, and of course, yours truly, this guy on the other end of the camera. And it was interesting to actually lay out a case where, we show here's what you have to do to run a ballot drive. It's not easy. There's no time to campaign. That's it. So R's and D's get to go out and destroy each other, and the adult in the room is stuck, hawking signatures, many, many, many piles of signatures. And it was interesting. There's the director of the elections office. Never really got a chance to ask him questions before, but a few things did stand out in my mind. One was, he couldn't tell you what representations you would need to make to a voter to get him to sign a petition page. You'd figure the guy in charge, the guy who was the expert, subject matter expert, would be able to explain that to you. Like, what do you need to say in order to, solicit signatures? Because we have one count that applies to compelled speech. And it is a crime, generally everywhere, and Connecticut specifically, that misrepresenting the contents of a petition page is illegal. Well, so the question, what do you need to tell people? He didn't know the answer, which I thought was kind of telling. I did try to get in and ask, because toward the beginning, he was trying to make the whole process sound easy, like, you can just go door to door. I know the state asked me about it. I'm like, well, that's great. If you don't want to get the numbers, go ahead, go door to door if you don't want to succeed. So this guy apparently, he couldn't walk anybody through the petitioning process. He just didn't know. As to the number of pages, I was just asking them ballpark number. How many of these things do you handle during a presidential cycle? Thousands. What was the answer? He couldn't tell me. Couldn't get me any closer. Um, couldn't give me an estimate as how much they'd weigh. I mean, because I think if he, I'm a little, I'm not quite sure if he told the truth, but maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But you'd figure a guy in that position would be able to tell you, like, yeah, here's how many sheets about like we have, here's how much they weigh, here's how they keep them. Because if you tell the truth and you kind of admit how burdensome this process is, I have been in several ballot drives. A few I managed, others other people managed. And I'll tell you one thing that here's how you know you're at the end of a ballot drive. You're the first one I was in was 2008. A whole bunch of petitioners, the Libertarians, Greens, Independent, the Nader Raiders. We had this was a big house, and the entire floor was covered with sheets. There was no, you couldn't see carpet, you couldn't see tile. The whole floor was covered. We had witnesses, notaries, JPs. Everybody was trying to verify these things. I mean, it was a solid 3,000 square feet surface area of pages, and that's notwithstanding the stacks. Like it was a substitute carpet. That's how bad this was. So we're doing this all at the end of the road, all at the end. So we're doing like the big turn in. We're trying to get everything like organized and numbered so we can keep track of this stuff. And one of the things the state kind of tried to bring up is like, well, you didn't have to wait till the last minute. It's like, well, actually, yeah, we kind of do, because we need to scan this, we need to categorize it, we need to like keep a copy, because you're going to screw us. You're going to find every possible reason to keep us off the ballot. And you do. And we're back in the same point. So that was the first thing. And then they also tried to say, well, why did you wait? You could have turned them in earlier. It's like, well, you're not going to give us the letter that we're on the ballot in May. You never do. You're not going to give us that letter in March. That would be helpful. You never do. I mean, the reason they don't give you that letter is because there's a deadline to withdraw signatures. And that deadline is the same deadline to, go ahead and finish turning in your signatures. So if Joe Lunchbucket, the angry petition signer person, wants to say, I signed Bob's petition for governor, and Bob got exactly 7,500 signatures, and Joe Lunchbucket says, I'm going to burn him, and I'm going to withdraw mine, so he's going to be at 7,499, he has that first week of August, he can withdraw a signature. And so that's why that letter never comes out until the middle of September. So one thing we also did, and I'm not sure of any other ballot access case where this happened, was we attacked it from like the Uniform Administrative Procedure Act. I mean, I believe most states have that equivalent of a statute, but that statute says all state agencies, Secretary of State included, you got to give people a hearing. You can't just, have what they call a contested case and make an adverse determination and not get a hearing. So I am noticing in the comments, Dan points out the citizens election program needs to be eliminated. Absolutely. And that's the other thing. As if it's not enough to make your competition wade through all this paper and all these court hearings and all this rigmarole and all this pointless busy work, then we're going to fund ourselves so our competition doesn't get to be heard. So this is what you have here. I mean, a lot of people have this mistaken belief that it's a popularity thing. It's not. It is a make work problem. So in order to go ahead and have a choice, you gotta do a whole bunch of busy work. And that's not raising money. It's not getting face-to-face time with voters. It's not advertising. It's make work. That's what it is. That is why Democrats and Republicans not only are in office, but they get to be horrible to everybody. Now, it was interesting because one of the questions that the court had was, well, I mean, how are these registrations? Like, what are the numbers with registrations doing? I mean, they're basically, with the exception of Democrats and Republicans, which the state's witness did not answer, And I'm pretty sure he could have, answered this a lot more clearly and better. But he was saying he thinks the Democrat numbers are going up, the Republican numbers are going down, everybody else is staying the same. Well, you want to know why? One of the reasons why, just take a look at your voter registration form. You've got Democratic, Republican, and other. How about other? So this is the thing. You've got a rigged system. I mean, this is why things are the way they are. Your system is rigged. So by the time you get to the voting booth, your decisions have been made for you. That is a fact. So I love it when the state likes to go off on this whole, you know, vote splitting thing, and we got to pretend, we got to prevent factionalism. It's like, well, who the hell put you in charge? I think it was us. I believe, maybe. But nope, the state asserts that it's a compelling state interest to make sure parties don't split up or new ones don't form. And, we got to make it easy for the voter because we don't want the voters to color outside the lines, as it were. So that's it. Under our framework, um, your choices are your choices. You're stuck with bad option A and bad option B. And the so-called fusion framework in Connecticut, well, all that does is reinforce, you know, bad option A and bad option B. You can paint it independent party, you can paint it working families party all you want. It's still bad option A and bad option B. And that's why we have so much polarization. We, bad option A, bad option B. Enter in defensive voting, and there you go. So there you have it. It has nothing to do with positions. It has nothing to do with platforms. It has nothing to do with raising money. It has nothing to do with any of these things. So, by the way, Kanye West did come up, and a lot of people have this notion that anybody can be president or anybody can be insert office A as long as they have name recognition and money. Well, Kanye West found out the hard way that ballot access is not so easy, is it? So there you have it. You want to know? That's why you have Republicans and Democrats, because of ballot access laws. So until we get out of the ballot access ghetto, then hey, this is what you're stuck with. That's really what it comes down to. So take care. I got to run off and do a few other things, but I did want to, put out an update on this because it's important. I mean, this case is a big deal. This is the difference. Whether anybody but Democrats and Republicans is going to be allowed to have a political existence. So if we lose, well, you don't have options. I guess we'll have to appeal, and that's the way it is. But we win. We're out of the ballot access ghetto. We will know how to fight from a libertarian standpoint to start dealing with a lot of these burdens. And by the way, I thought it was kind of cute how the state tried to make Connecticut look so lenient. It's not Vermont, where you need 10 town committees with 2 people on each committee, and they'll put you on any ballot. And it's not Minnesota that does it 1% statewide. They don't go office by office. You get 1% for a state office, great, you're in. It's not Hawaii, where you get 3 races, they give you another 5 free. It's not Florida, where you file your party rules, and there you go. Tell them who your officers are. And it's not Mississippi. Oh, and by the way, all these states are different. That's one thing the state did agree. They're all different, and so they all have different time frames, and they all have different deadlines. So you want paid petitioners to come in, you got to wait till they're done elsewhere. That's just how it works. You can pull all the pages you want. Volunteer efforts never get enough signatures. Never have. Never will. Door-to-door petitioning, never going to work. So there you have it. The ballot access obstacle course, and you could read a description of that obstacle course in the form of the plaintiff's amended complaint. This is what we have to do. Again, and again, and again, and then again some more. until the end of time, until somebody successfully sues and gets the laws changed. Now, I don't know what the laws will look like when we win. They typically try to make something restrictive because power does what it wants. So here's to hoping we've put at least a dent in that process. And I think we put on a pretty good case. I know I did. I know my friend attorney Ed Bona did. We Everything was done that could have been done. There's a lot of testimony there. Nobody has actually done this process before. You'll usually see like challenges here and there, but nobody has ever just laid out, here's what you got to do. Here's how this process works. And once you look at the process for what it is, it's make work. Um, but, the state loves it because the state is still in business and it gets to do things to you until we deal with this make work process. So take care. I hope you found this video informative and helpful, but we should probably have a decision sometime maybe in late April, May. There's a lot. There's a lot to take in. We put together a pretty good record, and yeah, here's hoping voters actually get to make decisions for themselves. So even if you're not in Connecticut, this affects you, because an outcome here that's positive, that would strike down these laws, would help you. It would help you have a choice other than Democrat and Republican. And it's about time we had that discussion and we said, here's where the polarization's coming from. It's these ballot access laws. The process is broken. We have a terrible process. That's what it is. So take care. I have other things to do, and I will be back soon. Talk to you later.